You tell yourself you have to be yourself. But here is the question no one ever asks. Who is that, exactly? You swear you are losing weight tomorrow. That voice making the promise. That is the real you, right? Then tomorrow arrives. You betray that version of yourself. You order the milk tea anyway. So tell me, are you still you? Nietzsche looked at this mess and said, stop pretending. What you call a self is just a swarm of impulses ripping each other apart. The one that survives gets to sign its name as I. We all walk around assuming the self is stable, unified, fully in control. We say I decide, I think, I choose, as if some independent CEO lives inside your skull, running the operation from a corner office. Nietzsche destroys this fantasy in On the Genealogy of Morals and Twilight of the Idols. The self is nothing more than a grammatical shortcut your brain invents after the action is already over. A post-hoc fiction, a narrative glue. Then he drops the bomb that flips Descartes completely inside out. You know the line, I think, therefore I am. Nietzsche says absolutely not. A thought arrives when it wants to arrive. You do not summon it. You do not author it. The accurate statement is not I think. It is it thinks. This is what Nietzsche called the will to power pluralism. Your inner world has never been a unified command center. It is a battlefield. Raw, relentless, endless, countless drives, hunger and lust, security and vanity, aggression and comfort, all clawing for the steering wheel at the same time. There is no self up there giving orders. There are only forces tearing each other apart for dominance. Picture a parliament in permanent meltdown. Every seat holds a different scream. One voice demands food. Another demands safety. Another wants to torch the whole building. These voices do not cooperate. They do not negotiate. They fight. When one faction temporarily seizes control and a decision finally gets made, your brain instantly manufactures an I to take the trophy. Look at what I did. Look at what I chose. That moment you stare up at the sky and the clouds suddenly form what looks like a face. Nietzsche says that is exactly what your brain does with your inner chaos. You see scattered, meaningless vapor. Your mind assembles it into a perfect human face. You think you are looking at a whole. You are looking at noise that your brain packaged into a shape it can recognize. That thing you call yourself? Same machinery, same trick, same illusion. Nietzsche went even deeper. He dissected how grammar itself wires your brain for this deception. Every sentence you speak demands a subject. The wind blows. The rain falls. I think. The structure of language forces you to slot an agent into every action. Without a subject, the sentence collapses. And here is the fatal move. You project this linguistic habit onto reality itself. You start genuinely believing there must be an I behind every thought. This is where Nietzsche says Descartes made his unforgivable mistake. He confused the structure of grammar with the structure of existence. Just because a sentence needs a subject does not mean reality needs a causal self. The subject is not the cause. The subject is what the sentence bullies you into supplying. Now watch this play out in your actual life. You swear the diet starts Monday. By noon you are holding a milk tea. And the story that instantly plays in your head is, I have no willpower. I cannot control myself. Nietzsche would tell you to cut the performance. This has nothing to do with willpower. 0. What actually happened is brutally simple. Your drive for pleasure went to war with your drive for thinness, and pleasure won. The phrase I cannot control myself is just the fictional I scrambling to invent a face-saving excuse for a battle it was never even fighting in. Or take that moment when a thought suddenly detonates in your mind. I am quitting my job to see the world. You feel like your authentic self is finally waking up. Nietzsche would shake his head. That is just your long-crushed drive for freedom temporarily taking the high ground from your drive for safety. You did not think that thought. It happened to you. You were the audience, not the author. This is where the floor starts to crack open. Because if Nietzsche is right, the entire architecture of free will disintegrates. You think you have sovereign choice. You think you are the decider. What you actually are is a coliseum of warring impulses. What you call freedom is just whichever force is currently winning. In Twilight of the Idols, Nietzsche writes something devastating. Humanity invented free will so we could hold each other accountable, so we could judge, so we could punish, so we could feel righteous. If we admitted there is no unified self, no stable I behind the actions, then the entire machinery of blame, guilt, moral responsibility, reward, and punishment comes crashing down in an instant. Most people hear this and panic. If the self is not real, what is the point? If I do not exist, does life lose all meaning? Nietzsche saw the exact opposite. He believed that seeing through the illusion is where actual freedom begins. Because once you truly understand that the self is a fiction, you stop torturing yourself trying to be that perfect, unified, never-failing identity. The pressure dissolves. You no longer need to beat yourself up for lacking control. You no longer need to feel broken because the eye you are chasing keeps slipping through your fingers. You are not a fixed product. You are not a label someone handed you. You are a process, a continuous surge of the will to power. You are not a statue frozen in time. You are a river, always moving, always becoming something else. But this is the part that actually matters. Nietzsche is not inviting you into nihilism. He is not telling you to quit because nothing is real. He is telling you to wake up, to see through the grammatical trap. Because the moment you do, you realize life is not about finding some predetermined self and clinging to it for dear life. Life is about creating, shaping, steering those inner forces with intention. You are not a result that has already been decided. You are an ongoing act of self-creation. So stop letting the fiction own you. That unified self, the perfect, controlled, never contradictory identity you have been exhausting yourself trying to become, it is a trick of language. Nothing more. Real strength begins the second you see through it. You are not a master sitting calmly on a throne. You are the battlefield. And here is the twist Nietzsche would want you to carry. You are also the king of that battlefield. Not because you control every skirmish. Not because you win every fight. But because you are the one who decides which forces you feed, which voices you amplify, which impulses you train. When you strip away the grammar, the stories, the credit-stealing eye, what is actually left? And more importantly, whose voice, among all the chaos, are you going to let speak through you tomorrow?